Stress, anxiety, anger, management, being upset are all a waste of time. Every minute you take out of your life to dwell on a negative is a minute that you can't spend on a positive. Too often we berate ourselves for not achieving a goal. Too often we don't give ourselves credit for getting where we got to go to getting that goal. Okay? So let's just say you wanted to do 8 interviews in a year and you did 5. Don't walk around saying, oh geez, I got 3 more. Walk around saying, I did 5. Not that I didn't do these other 3. Your list of negatives is going to be longer than your list of positives.
Yes.
Well, why is that? Well, we're trained to look for our negatives. Train yourself to look for positives. That's all you can do.
Hello friends, thank you so much for joining us once again. This is Terry Duo, and today I have a different kind of interview, inspiring all the same, and I have a special guest today, and his name is Lee. And Lee is a man who have had adventures in life, traveled many places, met many people. And one thing I know for sure from how I was introduced to him by other friends, they called him James Bond. They said that he's kind and loving, and they say he's a good leader, and just now I've heard he's a good father and a good friend to many. And those are rare qualities you hear mostly these days. You can hardly count on people in most cases. But we want to hear more about Lee and why we are here today and how this came to be. Please join us on Upia TV and enjoy the show. Welcome, Lee.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on Upia TV. Can you please tell us a little bit about your background, where you were born, and things like that?
I'll do that. I was,
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, continue.
Born November 17th, 1947. It was a Monday, 8:55 p.m., 7 pounds, 12 ounces.
Wow.
And my parents were Jill Tracy and Rowena Tracy, both from Alberta and Saskatchewan and Manitoba. My mom and dad were married in the liquor store in Whitehorse on, it would have been December 28th, I think, 1946.
Okay.
And the reason they were married in the liquor store
I was about to ask.
is it was just before New Year's,
Yeah.
and the man who ran the liquor store was also the Justice of the Peace.
Okay.
Now, on that day, there were 5 couples married.
Oh.
And
in the liquor store.
5 couples married by the Justice of the Peace.
Yeah.
But outside, there was a big long lineup of people.
Okay.
So, one couple goes in, they get married, they get the next place in line. The next place in line.
Yeah.
So my mom and dad got married, and by the Justice of the Peace, and then my dad took my mom out
Yeah.
to the row and said, "Would you wait here?"
Yes.
And she said, "Why?" He says, "Well, we're going to go into the liquor store and buy some liquor." He says, "But I lost all my money last night in a poker game, so I got to see if I can borrow some money."
Yeah.
So they moved, they went from Whitehorse, they went down to a place called Watson Lake where my mom and dad ran the hotel. Now in Watson Lake, up in that area, there wasn't very many hospitals or whatever. So my mom, 13 days before my birth, flew down to Edmonton
Okay.
and had me.
Okay.
And then 13 days later, she came back. And then my parents moved to a little town called Carcross, where my dad ran the hotel. And it was there that my first brother was conceived, Gary.
Okay.
He's since left us, a much loved, humorous addition to the family, just a great guy to know,
Yeah.
but he's since left us. After that, the parents, what had happened was that there was kind of an issue. They were supposed to go back to Watson Lake, and they never did, so they ended up in Wetaskiwin, Alberta.
Oh, okay.
1950, my sister was born,
Oh, okay.
the oldest sister. We moved from there to a place called Blue River.
Okay.
Now I'm 3 years older, so,
Okay.
and I'll say hi to Gary.
Okay.
I just,
Hi.
it's his birthday
Hi,
today.
Gary. Oh, happy birthday, Gary.
He just turned 77 today, so
Okay.
I've known him since he was 3. But anyway, so we were in Blue River, and then my parents did a few moves to, I'm thinking Wetaskiwin, I'm thinking Wainwright, I'm thinking, well, they were in Wainwright, but then moved to a town called Breton,
Okay.
Alberta.
Okay.
Now, Breton is kind of a different place. About I think 1908, 1911, or 1911, there was a mass of African Americans coming into Canada from Oklahoma and places like that. They didn't like the way they were being treated.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a very, very, very diverse little town.
Okay.
And then we were there, and I was there for a couple of years, and I went to school in a town called Devon, Alberta.
Okay.
In Devon, where I went to school from grade 3 up to grade 12.
Okay.
Now, in high school and everything else, I took general studies, and the
Okay.
reason for general studies
Okay.
is it was easier than matric.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I got out of school,
Yeah.
went to work for the Alberta Government Telephones. I
Okay.
was a lineman, climbing
Okay.
telephone poles and changing wires.
Okay.
Did that for a while, and
Yeah.
it was one March I realized that this is stupid, it's cold, I don't need to do this. And over the years, I've had a variety of jobs. I went in, I've been a bouncer, I've been a bartender, I've been lady shoe salesman for 3 years. I've been a car salesman, I've been, I've done it. And I've had time where I worked with my dad. There's times when I worked at the Taylor Oil Refinery up by Fort St. John, BC. So I've had a variety of jobs. And that pretty well went on until about 1977 or so.
Okay.
And 1977,
Yeah.
I don't know whether I saw the light or what the
Yes.
situation was, but
Yeah.
I went into the AA program.
Okay.
And rumor has it, I don't
Yes.
know if it's true,
Yeah.
but rumor has it that when Elvis found out that I had quit drinking, he committed suicide.
Oh boy.
But that's really
Okay.
not the case.
Okay. Yeah.
But and through that, and then there again, working in a variety of other places.
Yes.
One thing I've learned, and it came to bear a few years ago, this is my thinking, everything you hear, see, smell, listen to, say, is here forever.
Forever. Yes.
And I found that, there's times when you're mulling through something and the answer comes to you. And usually the answer comes to you as a result of having experienced before or putting two experiences together to come up with a resolution for this.
Yes.
So when you start looking at all of the things that are evolving, I go back to that philosophy.
Okay. That's a
I'm
good
thinking about
philosophy.
2000. So I bounced around. I worked in Kazakhstan. I was in Kazakhstan doing some work, soft skills training, management training, team building, anger management.
Okay.
And there was an ad for a guy with Kellogg Brown and Root to go to work in Indonesia. And would I apply? I applied for the job as trainer. So they said, would you like to go to work in Iraq? Now
Yeah.
I'm kind of bouncing.
Yeah.
And I said, you can't hire me. And they said, why? And I said, I'm a Canadian and we're a non-contributory force.
Yes.
Australians, New Zealanders, but we're non-contributory. The guy said, you want a job, you got it. So I ended up in Iraq.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah.
oh, a little weird. So I ended up in Iraq.
Yeah.
We were working 110 days on,
Yeah.
12-hour shifts,
Yeah.
10 days off, and then back to work for another 110 days.
Okay.
And what I was doing is, let's just say that we've got 2 subcontract administrators. We've got you and Eric.
Yes.
And you're hired to come into camp, into the theater of war, and you're doing a good job and she's doing a good job, but you're doing a good job based on your talent and knowledge,
Yeah.
but we're not getting the same thing.
Yeah.
They have no bearing on the end result. Every minute you take out of your life to dwell on a negative is a minute that you can't spend on a positive. That's one point.
Wow.
That's an absolute. There's no getting around that.
Yeah.
Before I went to Iraq, I developed a concept of my own mind.
Yeah.
I call it pragmatic fatalism. Now, being pragmatic to the most part is really helping me get through what I've got to get through between now and checkout time.
Yeah.
So that whole concept there of I don't make a lot of goals and plans, because if they don't evolve, I'd get disappointed. So there's no use setting me up for something that then later I'm going to be disappointed in. So I go through that process, and so pragmatic fatalism is basically, it doesn't, you can have a goal, you can set something, but make damn sure all of your expectations are realistic. Darn sure they're realistic. Make sure that they're achievable.
Yes.
You know, one of the things I talk about, I do a lot of talking, is too often we berate ourselves for not achieving a goal. Too often we don't give ourselves credit for getting where we got to go to getting that goal. Okay? So let's just say you wanted to do 8 interviews in a year and you did 5. Don't walk around saying, oh geez, I got 3 more. Walk around saying, I did 5. Not that I didn't do these other 3. So those are fundamental basics that we absolutely have to look at. One of the things that was pounded into our heads in Iraq is this whole concept of dignity and respect. Everybody deserves it. And I've been in places where the clerks will defer to me because I'm a white guy standing there, and I say, no, I wasn't here first. So it becomes that understanding, notification that we are where we are. And for God's sakes, don't take advantage of unless you can help somebody, don't take advantage of position or power or things like that. Ultimately, other people's well-being is important. I've got a driver that, and unfortunately, he's gone through pancreatic cancer, but they're fixing his with chemotherapy. He's been on chemo for a year. And one of the very first things I had to impart on him was I said, I don't want you to go to bed at night unless you can tell yourself you made somebody smile. It's a little thing. So all of those little things.
Yeah.
The dignity, respect, and like I say, everything has to be reasonable.
Yes.
Give yourself credit.
Mm-hmm.
I was in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I was asked to speak at an AA meeting.
Yeah.
This is just an aside, you can cut this.
Yeah.
And I said, make a list of all your positives, and make a list of all your negatives. And I said, I'm here to guarantee your list of negatives is going to be longer than your list of positives.
Yes.
Well, why is that? Well, we're trained to look for our negatives.
Mm-hmm.
Train yourself to look for positives. That's all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, and the thing I learned in Iraq was, every person that you meet on the face of the earth that you've met and will meet, you've met them for one of two reasons. They're going to show you how to be or how not to be.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
They're gonna show you how to be or how not to be.
that's right.
Every
their
person you met.
everybody, through their demeanor. I don't know whether you're aware, but a lot of times now,
Yes.
when people are being hired into senior management or executive positions,
Yes.
they get invited out by their boss, usually with their wife, to a nice dinner, a nice club.
Yeah.
And what they're looking for is, how does this person treat the wait staff? How does this person play?
Yes.
They're not looking for you to impress them,
Yeah.
but how you impress them.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing, is that'll sink more interviews, is the mistreatment of servant staff or something along that line.
Yeah.
And it can be based on, it can be predicated on anything.
Yeah. So have you met someone who you can say inspired you and you just saw this person and it's like, yes, this is how I want to be? Because you seem to have a lot of wisdom. Was there somebody who impacted your life in a positive way and kind of stopped you there, or was it bits and pieces?
There's a lot of people that I've met that I'm impressed with their mannerisms and the way they do things, and they've incorporated it into their lives. Not that I want to be like them, but I want to use what they're using to get ahead.
Okay.
When my stepson was 16, he said, are you a success? And I said, why do you ask? And he said, well, we have nice cars, we got a nice home. He said, I'm going to school and all of these other things. And I said, to be quite frank with you, I don't think I am. And he said, why is that? And I said, it's because I have never set a goal. Never.
Really?
I have never, other than staying sober, other than not
Yeah.
drinking today,
Yeah.
I have never said I will have a house. I have never said I will have this.
Yeah.
I have never set a goal and accomplished it.
Oh.
So,
Okay.
so it's like I haven't set goals. So I can't measure success by achieving a goal.
Okay.
Okay? So you go through life and take it as it comes and deal with it.
Yeah.
And so one of my best friends in Papua New Guinea is a lawyer,
Yeah.
Kisasu Postman.
Yeah.
And I'm relating that story to him. And he's from Manus, which is one of the Papua New Guinean islands.
Yes.
Very notable. When they were trying to achieve independence, he came 1981-82.
Yeah.
He came to Ottawa and studied constitutional law
Okay.
so that he could go back to Papua New Guinea and
Okay.
help set up the legislation.
Oh, okay.
He says, that's a good story. He says, but there's just one problem with it.
Yeah.
I said, what is it? And he said, you white people. I said, what do you mean that's white people?
Yeah.
He said, you're too focused on what you have and not who you are.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it becomes, and since then you see all these platitudes.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers your car or your how many bedrooms you had in your house,
Yeah.
but they do remember how you treat them.
That's good.
So you take that,
Yeah.
and there again, that goes into the dignity, respect,
Yes.
and everything else.
So dignity and respect, how you treat other people,
Yeah,
is you are to go to, and that's how you have managed to live with people and relationships.
well, yeah, and the
Most
other
of-
thing,
yeah.
the other thing that came, so I'll come to, I lose track of some things here and there, but you know, the whole concept of, it'll come to me in a minute, but dignity, respect. Oh, in this last 7 or 8 days, 9 days, talking to my grandson and my stepson and a few other people, parting words are, remember, you have a lot to give. We all do, one way or another. So we get into that process, and you know, like adjusting to my grandson over the years. I've been out of country, so we've had to develop a relationship, which has been good. My stepson, we've always been close through everything, but I'm kind of an adopted father to 4 young ladies in Papua New Guinea, and my advice is, don't be too overly concerned about meeting other people's expectations. Meet your own, and make sure they meet yours.